Hey everyone, we're here again for our daily updates and devotions. As far as updates, this Sunday, June 21st, is Father's Day. Just like Mother's Day, this year for Father's Day, we are going to purchase Gideon Bibles in a way to honor our fathers. We want to get the Word of God and the Gospel to people who may have never heard before, to people that are broken, people that are in need. And ultimately, we know their greatest need is God Himself. And so we are purchasing Bibles in honor of our fathers this year. As far as other announcements, you can see that the state of Tennessee has moved into phase 3 and all those things where restaurants and different places can open up at 75% capacity. Larger groups can meet for meetings and things like that. And so things are starting to get back to a sense of normal. Our local sports teams at our high school and middle schools are doing tryouts. They're practicing, they're gathering, and it seems like people are vacationing on the lake. They're going to Florida. All these things. It seems like life is starting to get back to a sense of normal. But as we're doing that, let's not forget that we are still in a desperate need for the gospel to be shared. Christians still need to be lights. So as you're getting back into the swing of things, don't fall back into old habits. Establish new, healthy, God-honoring habits as you move forward, getting back to a sense of normal routine. All right, let's get into our devotion for the day. We are picking up in Proverbs chapter 30. Last week we ended the week with the first section, and we're going to pick up in verse 10 in Proverbs chapter 30 and try to make sense of this proverb. So let's take this a little bit section by section, and we'll go through it. The first section is verses 10 through 14. It talks about the fall of a generation. It talks about generations struggling. So let's get into that. Verse 10, it says, "Don't slander a servant to his master, or he will curse you, and you will become guilty." See there in verse 11, "There is a generation that curses its father and does not bless its mother. There is a generation that is pure in its own eyes, yet is not washed from its filth. There is a generation, how haughty its eyes and pretentious its looks. There's a generation whose teeth are swords, their fangs are knives, devouring the oppressed from the land and the needy from among mankind." What he's doing here is he's describing 4 different types of people when he talks about generations. People that are ungrateful, people that are self-righteous, people that are prideful, and people that are selfish. Are there people today that fit into those categories? I think there are, right? What he's describing here is just what has always been. And just like Solomon writing the Proverbs, he also wrote Ecclesiastes, said there's nothing new under the sun. Our generation today, the people living today, are still struggling with the same things that people have always been struggling with. That's because we all had the same struggle, sin. We have a sin problem. Therefore, we need Jesus desperately. We all do. Because left to ourselves, our generation, our people can be described as ungrateful, self-righteous, prideful, and selfish. So we need to be mindful of that, to realize that all of us have the same problem. It's a sin problem. And we all need the same solution, and that is Jesus. All right, let's look at the next section, verses 15 through 18. It says, "The leech has 2 daughters. Give, give. 3 things are never satisfied. 4 never say enough. Sheol, a childless woman. Earth, which is never satisfied with water. And fire, which never says enough. As for the eye that ridicules a father and despises obedience to a mother, may ravens of the valley pluck it out, and young vultures eat it." This section can be categorized as a people who desire more. See, when you desire more from this world, you will never be satisfied. It's saying here that enough is never enough. They want more and more and more and more and more. That's what the world leaves you. The world promises you all these things, but in the end, it leaves you wanting. The only thing that doesn't leave you wanting is God Himself. He is the one that fully and completely satisfies. Don't be fooled into thinking that you can find satisfaction in this world with the things of this world. You can only be fully satisfied in Jesus. So you need to remember that. Now let's go to the next section, verses 18 through 20. "3 things are too wondrous for me, 4 I can't understand. The way of an eagle in the sky, the way of a snake on a rock, the way of a ship at sea, and the way of a man with a young woman. This is what This is the way of an adulteress. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I've done nothing wrong. This section is talking about the deceitfulness of sexual immorality. He's saying here, like an eagle flies through the sky, a snake across a rock, a wave of a ship at sea. See, when those things go by, they leave as if nothing was ever there. If you watch a bird fly over the sky and you look at the sky before and after the bird flies over, what? It looks the same. You look at a ship as you look at the sea and a ship comes by, before and after the ship, the sea looks the same. You look at a rock, before and after a snake crawls over it, it looks the same. But see, that's not how sexual immorality works. See, people today think that they can go and experience sexually any way they want, and before and after they will be the same. But the problem is that's not true. It says here that an adulterous woman, she eats and wipes her mouth and says, I've done nothing wrong. She's been deceived to think that she can go out and experience sexual immorality and it does not impact her life. Brothers and sisters, sexual immorality will always leave a mark. Always. Always leaves a mark. Don't be deceived in thinking that you can do whatever you want sexually and it will not leave a mark. It most certainly will. All right, let's go to the next section, verses 21 through 23. The earth trembles under 3 things, it cannot bear up under 4. A servant when he becomes king, a fool when he is stuffed with food, an unloved woman when she marries, and a servant girl when she ousts her queen. Here we're seeing that there is a lust for undeserved or unearned status. We all want something that we don't deserve or didn't earn. That's the sinful nature within us. See, here is saying like a servant who becomes king. Servants don't become kings. The sons of the king become kings. But see, a lot of times, in a lot of places, all throughout the generations, it seems that people want something for nothing. Look at the work ethic that is exiting our culture. People want something for nothing, and that is a sin, and that is a problem. We shouldn't lust after things that are undeserved or unearned in our life. What we do is we work hard, and we work for whatever God gives us, we are content with. That's what Paul says. Look, I've learned to be content in whatever I have because I'm doing all things for the glory of God. So don't go after things you don't deserve. Don't go after things you haven't earned. What you do is you work hard, and whatever God blesses you with, you use that for his glory. Don't lust after things that don't belong to you. All right, now let's go to verses 24 through 31. 4 things on earth are small, yet they are extremely wise. Ants are not a strong people, yet they store up their food in the summer. Hyrax are not a mighty people, yet they make their homes in the cliffs. Locusts have no king, yet all of them march in ranks. A lizard can be caught in your hands, yet it lives in kings' palaces. 3 things are stately in their stride, 4 are stately in their walk. A lion, which is mightiest among beasts and doesn't retreat before anything. A strutting rooster, a goat, and a king at the head of his army. What this section is saying is that wisdom allows you to walk with confidence. And he uses animals here to give this picture. He says, look at these different animals, how they work together and they accomplish things. Yet they're just animals. They don't have leaders. They don't have a king. You have God himself. Think about how much more you can accomplish than even these animals. Any of these animals understand the basics of accomplishing things. And he talks about even the lion walks around and he struts around with confidence. The lion doesn't have God behind him. He doesn't know of God. See, brothers and sisters, we know of God. When we walk in wisdom, we can walk in confidence because we are walking with God himself. And we understand through this whole book of Proverbs that wisdom is speaking of Jesus. So we can walk, when we walk with Jesus, we walk with confidence because it is Jesus doing the walking for us. Isn't that a glorious thought? To know that when we accept Jesus, when we embrace Jesus, we can walk in confidence in this world and in this life. That's what he's telling us here. Now let's go to the last 2 verses, verse 32 and 33. If you have been foolish by exalting yourself, or if you've been scheming, put your hand over your mouth. For the churning of milk produces butter, and a twisting a nose draws blood, and stirring up anger produces strife. I think this is a great way to close out this section here as a reminder, and this has been a thread throughout the book of Proverbs. What you sow, you will reap. What you plant is what will grow. What you put inside your heart will come out through your mouth. You can't expect to live an ungodly life and then produce godly fruit. It doesn't work that way. You can't live in sexual immorality. You can't live in desiring the things of the world. You can't live in a world where you think you deserve everything without working for it, and then expect, on the flip side, to be living a life that glorifies God. So, brothers and sisters, what do? We look to God. We sow things that are of God. We sow love and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and self-control. We sow the fruits of the Spirit that we find in Galatians 5. And we also take this with us. For God is with me, and I am strong. I hope you have a great afternoon and evening. I look forward to talking with you again tomorrow.